Good evening, my friends. Welcome to the Web o' Mystery. I'm your good friend John, and I can see we got a room full of awesome people right now, and that's fantastic. I love it. Tell all your friends. This is one of the many shows we do here at the Weber Internet thingy, and it's a lot of fun. And boy, we got a great one for you. I'm going to play you a radio show tonight that changed everything, not just for radio, not just for the genre that it created, which was this created the crime procedural, this show, Gangbusters. It's it's amazing to even guess that could happen. But yes, indeed. This created the crime drama, but really the procedural. And it is a really great show. It's a lot of fun. I, as of course, Spider Hat gets all the love. No, that's not true. That's not true. I'm getting love too. And the fun thing about Gangbusters is this show came from a man who is easily one of the most interesting people that ever made any kind of programming. I'll tell you a little bit about the show before we listen to the show, and then after the show, I'll tell you some stories about the guy who created the show, because this guy, oh my gosh, this guy is amazing. His name is Phillips H. Lord. Yes, his first name is Phillips. He comes from a rather fancy old New England tradition of giving a boy his mother's maiden name as the first name, which is funny because when we grew up, there was a guy named Sergeant Shriver, and it was because his mom's maiden name was Sergeant. My mother's maiden name, I'm not going to say it too obviously because, there's some people listening out there. But yeah, you're actually looking at Sergeant Weber if I had gone that route. Did not. So it's very it's very exciting. Also, there's this little piece of trivia that we've been tossing around, and the folks in the chat are tossing it around too. My good friend and broadcasting partner, Joe Townsell, says, John approaches every task and goal like gangbusters. And gangbusters, that phrase, coming on like gangbusters, they went in there like gangbusters, that came from this show. And partially because this show has an intro that is so loud and so obnoxious. Well, that's how it ended up. That's not how it started. Phillips H. Lord saw a movie called G-Men. It starred James Cagney. And he went, this is the future. People are going to want to see this. James Cagney was actually playing the good guy. He was playing the law enforcement investigator trying to bring down gangsters. And you had gangsters on one side, you had G-Men on the other. And Phillips H. Lord was a producer. So he sold the show basically on, I'm going to go to J. Edgar Hoover and I'm going to get J. Edgar Hoover to give us his cooperation. And we're going to talk about FBI files and all of these cases. And it's going to be so great. And it sold. Everybody really, really wanted this show. But not J. Edgar Hoover. J. Edgar Hoover would look at these scripts and go, you're making the villains look interesting. You can't do that. You're making the investigators not look as exciting as the gangsters. We can't have that. He objected to everything. Phillips H. Lord said that there would be a line that was like 3 words like, you got it. And there would be a problem and a note from J. Edgar Hoover over that. Well, our people wouldn't say that. And it was punishing trying to work with J. Edgar Hoover. Now, why did J. Edgar Hoover agree to it? He actually never did. He never wanted to do the show G-Men at all. He didn't like this fictionalizing approach. even though they were using his actual cases. And it really was not his choice. He wanted to have a program that was very sedate and very dignified, and he didn't want to get into action. But the attorney general at the time was Homer Still Cummings. I have a hard time believing that's a whole name. Homer Still Cummings. He was the U.S. attorney general, and he really wanted this show to happen. And that's why it happened. And that's why J. Edgar Hoover was such a punk about it. Raphael, don't distract me. Come on. Did I lose a light? I decided not to go with the other light. Why are we having this conversation? The show Gangbusters was what I can't believe I'm so thrown by that. No, do not start a GoFundMe to start another light. I just decided not to use it. Yeah, I kind of like the shadows. I really want Spider Hat's legs to stand out. Already lost my train of thought. I'm terrible. I'm such an awful host. Phillips H. Lord got through the 12 episodes that he was contracted to do with J. Edgar Hoover. And then he, the whole time, had been making notes of things I will never do again. One of the things he would never do again was put himself in a position where he was beholden to one person. And in this case, it was J. Edgar Hoover. And he also decided, let's not go with cases that are federal. Let's go with local law enforcement, because local law enforcement loves to be on the radio. And there's a lot of cases out there in local law enforcement they could do. The show lasted 21 years. The show was one of the first shows to bring violence into the home. Now, that sounds like a terrible thing, but you got to remember there are a lot of kids listening, and they loved this show. And so generations of kids through 21 years, this was a hot show. Now, as much as the country has always had an appetite, especially in the 1930s when this show debuted in 1936, the show always had an appetite for Westerns and the violence that came with that. But now you had cops and robbers. Now you had, gangsters and good guys. It was a new kind of action. It was a new kind of story to tell. And this was where it all started. So we're going to listen to, I can't believe I left this on the screen the whole time. You guys, stop being funnier than me. No, please be funnier than me. We need that. Okay, so let's get into it. I want to let you know we got a lot of good things going on here. Hey, JoeTownsend.com, everybody. Visit our good friend JoeTownsend.com over at his website. Check in all the things he's doing to help you ring in the new fear. JoeTownsend.com. I know you guys can't help it. You're just innately entertaining, and it's up to me to not be entertained, but I can't help it. Let's go to, let me load up this video. We're gonna go over to a good friend of ours. I actually should meet the people who run this account at some point before I call them good friends, but they're awesome. And I do love them. It's the Nikola Tesla wireless radio channel over on YouTube. We're going to use their video tonight. They really have great quality recordings. And honestly, I'm going to click like on it. I'm the first like on this one. That's crazy. But they do have almost 21,000 subscribers. So 21,000 people cannot be wrong. 21. Seems to be tonight's number. Isn't that interesting? Go play it in the lottery, kids. Okay, we're going to listen to this. Now, I want you to remember what J. Edgar Hoover kept telling Phillips H. Lord. Make it classy. Make it dignified. Phillips H. Lord, on the other hand, knew how to make a hit radio show. So listen to the very beginning and tell me in the chat what you think of how Phillips H. Lord decided to start Gangbusters. This is from 1948. It's called The Case of the Mysterious Rooming House.
Now, Gangbusters, presented in cooperation with police and federal law enforcement departments throughout the United States. The only national program that brings you authentic police case history.
Gangbusters presents The Case of the Mysterious Rooming House, where robbery and death walk by night, until a woman's heel and a fishing knife brought detectives face to face with the unknown killer.
Gangbusters has asked the Honorable William T. Fitzgibbons, Chief of Detectives of the Buffalo, New York Police Department, to narrate by proxy tonight's case. Chief Fitzgibbons, you told me it's very seldom that police have to cope with the kind of murder mystery typical of detective fiction.
That's right, Don Gardner. Nearly all murders are crimes committed in the heat of passion, with the killer easily identifiable and easily apprehended. Or they are felony murders committed during the course of a robbery or burglary.
Well, Chief Fitzgibbons, I know you're going to tell us how Buffalo detectives recently conducted their investigation into a particularly brutal and baffling murder. So why don't you start right in?
All right, Bob. Suppose we begin in Buffalo about 2:30 one morning, somewhat more than a year ago. The screaming siren of Lieutenant Edwin Grounder's squad car broke the silence of the night as it pulled to a stop in front of a rooming house on Main Street, where, despite the lateness of the hour, a sizable crowd had gathered.
Stay by the car, man.
Right, Lieutenant.
Okay, police officer, coming through. Coming through.
Folks, there's nothing to see. Go on home, will you?
Hello, Lieutenant.
What is it, O'Neill?
One of the roomers stabbed to death. A guy about 60 named Gahagan.
Who's upstairs?
Sergeant Clank is in charge.
Okay.
All right, folks, stand back, please. Go on home. There's nothing.
Hello, Lieutenant.
Oh, hello, Emil. You got trouble again, huh?
The such a thing should happen to me, Lieutenant.
What do you mean, Emil? To you? You talk like you're the victim.
I run a respectable rooming house, Lieutenant.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. Where's the detective in charge?
Upstairs, room 10. Here, I'll show you.
I can find it. Didn't he tell you to get in your own room and stay there until you were called for?
He asked me to bring this room register.
All right, come along.
Oh, what a mess. What a mess.
Who is this Gahagan, anyway?
9 years he roomed with me. 9 years.
Oh, I guess you lost a good roomer, Emil.
Well, there. That's room 10.
Yeah.
Such a thing.
Okay, wait here. Sergeant Clank?
Oh, Lieutenant. Some mess, isn't it?
Yeah.
Got that register, Emil?
Yeah, sure, I got it right here.
Okay, let's have it.
Here it is.
All right, Emil. Back downstairs to your room. Where do we go?
Oh, sure, I'll wait. What else am I going to do? What a mess.
Want to look around, Lieutenant?
Yeah.
This is the ambulance surgeon from General Hospital, Dr. Hoffman, from Conduct.
Hello, Lieutenant. Doctor? What's it look like, Sergeant?
Dead on arrival. Stabbed several times with a short-bladed knife, looks like. Also kicked and beaten. There's no telling now which came first.
You'd better stick around until the medical examiner gets here, Doctor. Okay. Is this the way you found the room, Clank?
This is it.
Whoever did the job sure was looking for something.
Yeah. Look at these floorboards. Must have thought there was a loose on it. Oh, didn't see that before. Well, what do you know?
Let's see that.
Heel off a woman's shoe.
Doesn't look like a woman's work, does it?
Yeah. Hey, come to think that there was a strange woman in the house tonight. She knocked on almost every door.
Is that so? This lift came off a spike heel, wouldn't you say?
Offhand, yeah.
Do you want to give me what you have, Clank?
Sure. Oh, first we found another room was pretty much messed up, too. Room 1.
Who lives there?
Nobody. Empty.
Empty? Let's have a look.
Stick around, Doctor.
That's
We'll be right back. Room 1's at the end of the hall.
First, give me a rundown on what you got.
Oh, yeah, sure. James Gahagan, age 62, resident here 9 years. Employed janitor at St. Paul's Church. Lived frugally, no known enemies, few friends. Supposed to have been loaded with cash. Probably what they were after, and got.
What about the woman?
Well, she knocked at a couple of doors a little after midnight. She was looking for a Bob somebody. She's about 30, red hair, wearing a black dress, long black gloves, and high-heeled suede pumps.
That the lift could have come off out.
That's right. Nobody ever heard of this Bob she was supposed to be looking for.
Well, it might have been just a stall to find Gahagan's room. Go on, let's have a look at number 1.
All right. Emil told me Gahagan had one friend, much younger, a cab driver named Jackie Regal.
Oh?
Played a lot of chess together, it seems. Emil says he didn't like the looks of the guy.
Well, that makes us even. I don't like the looks of Emil.
I'll get the light.
Wow.
Ever see such a mess? Besides room 10, I mean?
Emil says this room is unoccupied?
Since Friday. Guy named Horner had it moved to Syracuse.
Well, they really did a job on the floorboards in here, too.
Maybe they thought this was Gahagan's room.
No, the closet's empty. There's no linen on the bed. Anybody would have known this room was unoccupied.
That's why I sent Emil for the register to see who occupied the room before. They could have hidden something and come back for it.
And why should they kill Gahagan?
Well, maybe what they hid was gone. Maybe they thought Gahagan took it.
We'll see.
Lieutenant.
Oh, come in, O'Neill.
I think we've got the knife that did the trick.
Yep, that looks like it.
I found it in the alleyway between this house and the next, practically under Emil's window.
Uh-huh. You see?
Not so fast, Sergeant.
Well, Emil's way up on my list. He could have had his eye on Gahagan for a long time.
And why do you have to go to all the trouble in this room?
Well, cover up.
Well, maybe. That knife looks like the kind fishermen use.
Well, there's lots of fishermen, Lieutenant.
We'll put some men to tracing it in the morning. Clink.
Yeah?
Your job is the redhead.
Gotcha.
O'Neill?
Yep.
Gahagan had a friend, Jackie Regal, cab driver. They played chess together. Find him and have a talk with him.
Just a second, you.
Oh, mate.
Yeah. I want a word with you.
Well, you'll have to wait, brother. Mike down and check his property.
You're Jackie Rigo?
That's right.
I'm a police officer.
A police officer?
William O'Neill, Detective Division.
Oh,
You're a friend of James Gahagan's?
that's right. What's the matter?
You played a lot of chess together, huh?
What happened?
Your friend is dead.
Oh, no.
Somebody stuck a knife in him, looking for his dough.
Oh, gee, that's awful.
Did Gahagan ever tell you he hid a lot of money in his room?
No, he never told me, but there was some talk.
Hey, wait a minute.
You don't think I had anything to do with it?
Did you?
Listen, I've been working. I've been pushing this hack all night.
Let's see your call sheet.
Well, sure, that proves it. Here.
Uh-huh. All right, come on, Jackie. Let's take a ride downtown.
Oh, why?
It says here, 1:10, you had a call to Genesee and Eureka Place. Not another fare after that until 2:15.
So what? Business was slow.
I'll tell you so what. Gahagan was killed about 1:30. You have a little explaining to do about that time lag in your call sheet. Now, let's go.
Lieutenant, why can't I go home now, please?
There's a few things we'd like straightened out, Emil.
My room and house business. Nobody's there to take care of the place.
Would you call this redhead pretty, Emil?
Pretty, not pretty. Who knows it was dark in the hall?
You heard that James Gahagan kept a lot of cash in his room.
I heard nothing. My room and business is their own.
See that knife there? Is it yours?
I never go fishing.
If you never go fishing, how do you know it's a fisherman's knife?
Somebody said so.
I've got the cab driver, Jackie Rigo, out here.
Good, bring him in, O'Neill.
Inside, Jackie.
There he is. That's him. That's the one.
The one that what?
He knew about Gahagan's money. They played chess. I'm not chess. He wanted Gahagan's money.
Listen here,
All
you
right,
old...
that's enough, Jackie.
I want straight answers from both of you. If I don't get straight answers, I'll ask the district attorney to hold you both as material witnesses. You understand that, don't you? Well, I got nothing to hide.
Nothing to hide.
If you don't cut it
All
out,
right,
you won't.
shut up.
I'm willing to cooperate, Lieutenant. And you, Emil?
Well, sure, Lieutenant. I always cooperate.
Hey, just a second. Lieutenant Grounder.
Sergeant Clink, can you step outside a second, Lieutenant?
Something on the redhead?
No, but just as good.
I'll be right out. Stick care of these two, O'Neill.
Right.
I'll be right back. What is it, Clink?
Guess who lived in room 1 a year ago, according to the register?
Who?
Do you remember that string of house burglaries last year?
Yeah?
You remember we figured it to be a guy named Ken Snyder, and we couldn't nail him with the goods?
Snyder occupied room 1?
Nobody else?
Uh-huh.
You remember he got a year for car theft, and after Snyder went away, the burglary stopped?
Yeah?
All right. He's out now. Been out for 2 weeks.
You think maybe he hid the swag from those house burglaries in room 1 and it was there until last night?
When he could have gone back for it and decided to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, the other bird being Gehagen.
Mm-hmm. Was room 1 searched when this Ken Snyder was suspected of the burglary?
It was, but the burglary squad says they didn't look under the floorboard.
Any idea where Snyder is now?
We can start checking. What about those 2 in there?
Well, I've got a few more questions to ask them, then I'm going to turn them out on the street in about 15 minutes. Put men on both of them.
Gotcha, Lieutenant.
And you, Crank. You get me that redhead.
So, Don, Lieutenant Edwin F. Grounder, in charge of Buffalo detectives investigating the murder of James Gehagen, had 4 likely suspects, any one of whom might turn out to be the guilty party. But the list of suspects was soon to increase, and the mysterious killer came very near eluding police before their trap was sprung.
Well, you were telling us, Chief Fitzgibbons, the Buffalo, New York detectives investigating the mystery murder of James Gehagen had several suspects under consideration.
That's right, Don, but 2 of these remained to be located. Ken Snyder, the ex-convict who a year before had occupied room 1, and the mysterious red-haired woman. Detectives were not aware of the fact at the time, but the red-haired woman was Kate Coogan, a nightclub hostess. And that afternoon, she was sitting in the living room of her apartment on Elm Street, reading a magazine. There was a knock at the door. Although hardly dressed for visitors, Kate went to answer.
Okay, take it easy. Yeah, who is it?
It's Emil. Open up.
Oh, go home, will you?
You know what's good for you. You'll open up.
All right, just a second. I thought I told you off last night.
Yeah, but a lot's happened since last night. Why did you kill him, Kate?
Kill him? Me?
Well, maybe not you. Maybe somebody with you.
Hey, just watch who you're accusing, Emil. You're the one always talking about Gehagen's dough.
The cops are looking for you.
Yeah, well, let them look.
I didn't tell them nothing. I didn't tell them nothing at all.
What do you want, a bunch of roses?
Be nice to me, Kate, and I'll never tell them nothing.
Just get away from me, you slime. Guess you understand that.
You didn't have to hit me.
Go on, tell the cops. Tell them anything you like. You're afraid. You're afraid because I bet my bottom dollar you're the guy that gave it to Gehagen.
That's a lie.
Yeah? Go on, Emil. Get out.
Be nice to me, Kate, or I will tell the cops.
Tell them anything you like. I got a good story.
Yeah.
I was a little drunk. I was looking for Bob, so I gave the cab driver your address instead of his. That's logical, ain't it?
Yeah, but how are you going to explain how you lost part of your shoe in Gehagen's room? How, huh?
I didn't lose nothing.
Didn't you? Well, the cops got it.
Well, I did stop in to say hello.
Yeah.
But I didn't kill him. I had nothing to do with it. Now get out of here, Emil, before I kill you.
Oh, now me too.
Get out.
All right, I'll go, but take a tip. You better be nice to me.
Lieutenant Grounder.
Hello, Lieutenant. Sergeant Blake. You think we've got the redhead for you?
Oh, good work. Who is this redhead?
Her name's Kate Coogan, Lieutenant. She's still in her apartment.
Lieutenant? Hold on a second, Clank.
I located the guy who's been running with Ken Snyder.
Nice going, O'Neill.
And he's a fisherman.
Uh-huh. All right, Clank. Bring Kate Coogan in.
You betcha. About 20 minutes, I'll see you.
Now, who is the friend of Snyder's, O'Neill?
Harry Kennedy, a big guy. He's a puddler at Republic Steel. No criminal record, but a fisherman.
What's his connection with Snyder?
The 2 of them have been around a lot together since Snyder got out. Make the bars, you know.
Any trace of Snyder?
No, but Kennedy ought to know where we can put our hands on him.
All right, pick Kennedy up.
I can get him right after he finishes work.
Yeah, who is it?
Kate Coogan,
Who is it?
police officer, open the door.
All right, just a second.
Okay.
What do you want with me?
You mean you haven't any idea?
I haven't.
Supposing you invite me in, we'll talk about it.
Come in if you want to.
How long have you known Emil?
He's a pest.
But you went visiting at his rooming house last night.
I was looking for a friend of mine, Bob. I got mixed up and gave the cab driver Emil's address.
Must have had Emil on your mind.
I was a little drunk.
You know there was a murder there?
Yeah, I heard.
How many times before last night were you in Gahagan's room?
Never. Not last night, not ever. I didn't even know him.
So you never met Gahagan?
Well, I just told you.
Now, Kate, think. You might save yourself a lot of trouble.
Okay. I met him. Just because I met him don't mean I had anything to do with getting him killed.
And what time was it you stopped in his room?
I wasn't in his room, I told you.
How many pairs of shoes do you own, Kate?
1,000, how should I know?
Do you mind if I look them over?
Sure I mind. If you want to look at shoes, go to a shoe store.
All I have to do is call downtown. They'll be out here in half an hour with a search warrant.
Okay, I saw Gahagan.
I thought you.
But I didn't kill him. I had nothing to do with it.
You lost a heel lift in his room.
I don't know where I lost it. I lost
It was in his room. You still got those shoes?
Well, I don't throw out brand new pumps, not the way prices are today.
You would have if you had the chance.
Okay, so I would have.
Who was it with you last night? Where's this Bob?
Look, there was nobody with me, and Bob had nothing to do with it. Lots of the roomers saw me. They saw me alone. I didn't have nothing to do with it. I was looking for Bob. I made a mistake in the houses.
Yeah, let's see. Come on, let's get those shoes and take a ride. Hi there. Can I buy you a drink? Who are you? You're Kennedy, huh? So I'm Kennedy. I'm looking for Ken Snyder. Seen him around? I don't know any Snyder. That's funny. I heard you were pals. I heard you got chummy just after Snyder got out of Elmira. You heard wrong. Well, as long as you don't know where Snyder is, you'll do. Go on, buddy. Hit the ties. I like to drink alone. Come on, I'll give you a lift downtown. I ain't going downtown. I'm a police officer. Yeah? Yeah. I think you'd better come along with me. Now, wait a minute. Take it easy, Kennedy. You're likely to get something you're not looking for. Okay, let's go. We'll see how long you keep me. Yeah, we'll see. Okay, Lieutenant. They're all out there waiting.
You suppose they thought about it long enough, Cole?
Well, none of them was getting any happier.
Yeah.
Jackie and him are about to jump on each other, and Kate's getting as red as her hair.
What about Kennedy?
Hasn't said a word.
Still won't open up about Snyder.
Says he doesn't know any Snyder. That's all.
Okay. Let's get started on him.
Ladies first?
I think I'd like to get better acquainted with Mr. Kennedy.
Okay, Lieutenant.
All right, quiet, all. Just quiet. Sit down.
The sergeant said sit down. Go ahead.
Okay, Kennedy. Inside.
Hey, what about me? I work pretty late, you know.
Quiet.
About time I got some consideration. Inside, Kenny. You'll get plenty of consideration. Lieutenant Grounder has a few questions. I don't know what you got me down here for. I don't know nothing about this deal.
Sit down, Kennedy.
I can stand. Lieutenant said sit down. Yeah.
Oh, that's better. You'll be more comfortable.
Who can be comfortable in a police station?
All right, Kennedy, I guess you know you're in a jam.
What kind of jam? I told you I didn't know any Snyder guy.
Kennedy, we've been doing a little bit of checking. If you don't know anything, I do.
Okay, if you're so smart, you tell me something.
Snyder and you got pretty chummy, huh?
I don't know any Snyder.
He told you he was an ex-con. He told you he had a lot of jewelry and cash hidden under the floorboards of a rooming house. Loot from burglaries he pulled before he went away.
What are you giving me?
Snyder offered you half, didn't he? Half if you break into the room with him. And to make things even more attractive, he told you about the supposed miser, Gahagan, who lived in room 10. You could really make a night of it.
Got no right accusing me.
So you and Snyder went to Gahagan's room. This is your knife. Snyder told you to kill him. You stabbed him 3 times with this knife.
No, I couldn't.
With this fishing knife that you bought on June 3rd at Miller's Hardware.
Who are you trying to scare? Where'd you find all this out?
From the party that knows best. Besides you.
Got Snyder in jail.
I didn't say that.
You've got him, haven't you?
Why should I tell you?
He thinks he's going to get out easy by laying everything off on me. He's crazy.
It was all his idea.
Sure, it was his idea. I was roped in.
Are you ready to tell us all about it? And the truth?
Yeah, I'll tell you. He thinks he's going to put anything over on me.
First, get to tell us where Snyder lives.
I don't know where he lives. He's got a cousin on Elm Street. Goes there sometimes. That's all. Hey, you don't have Snyder at all, do you?
No, but we'll get him.
You made me think you did.
Sit still, Kennedy.
What?
Sit still.
Okay. Sergeant Crank,
Yes, Lieutenant.
get on Neil and start checking on Snyder's cousin.
Yeah. How'd you guess Kennedy's so right?
It's natural. With what we had, I just figured how it'd be if Kennedy and Snyder did do it. And they did. Now get going after Snyder.
You betcha. Right away.
Okay, Mayor, hold it here, not right in front of the house. Right, Lieutenant.
Glad you got here, Lieutenant. We're all set.
You are sure it's Snyder?
Yeah, sure enough. Elgin made him from the picture. It was still daylight, and he got a good look.
Where's O'Neill?
Covering from the alley.
All right, Sergeant. Let's take the front door. It's a good bet he knows we've got Kennedy. He's liable to be set for us.
It makes us even, Lieutenant. I'm set for him.
Okay, up to the door. Knock. And stand aside.
Looks like he's got all the lights turned off.
Yeah.
I don't care for this too much.
Knock again.
I guess say we try.
Hold it. Somebody's coming.
Yeah, what is it?
Open up. We're police officers.
What do you want?
Open up.
Yeah, sure.
Watch him, you guys. What have you got a gun?
Nice going, Clank.
Doesn't look like he wanted to cooperate.
Come on, let's get him in.
Yeah, Lieutenant. I'm kind of anxious to hear that singing contest between him and Kennedy.
That, Don, was how detectives of the Buffalo Police Department cleared a real-life murder mystery. Snyder and Kennedy are now serving maximum terms of life imprisonment at the New York State Prison at Attica.
Well, thank you, Chief Fitzgibbons. And Gangbusters, congratulations to all the Buffalo detectives who participated in the brilliant investigation leading to the arrest and conviction of these savage killers. Gangbusters! Tonight's case was dramatized by Stanley Niss and directed by William Sweets, with Myron McCormick and Walter Vaughn in leading roles.
Okay.
And now, Gangbusters.
All right. Whoops. Boy, that ended very suddenly. I was hoping that we would hear one of the great elements of the Gangbusters recordings. Not every Gangbusters transcription disc had this at the end of it. It was usually done literally ripped from the headlines. Local law enforcement would give to the Gangbusters producers someone they were looking for, and they would give a description, and they would say, you know, we're looking for this guy. We saw that sort of thing as kids when we were watching America's Most Wanted, and it was actually created for Gangbusters. And they say that in the 21 years of doing Gangbusters, giving out these clues and the names and the descriptions of these criminals to people through the show, it accomplished a bunch of things. First off, they say over 300 people were arrested due to tips that were basically asked for through the Gangbusters shows. So people would hear that. Another thing they say is that criminals would listen to Gangbusters and they would go, oh, clearly I've got to change what I'm doing. And, you know, if somebody's description was given over the show, he would do everything he could to go change his looks instantly. So, yeah, the criminals were learning from the show and listening to the show as well. So you can imagine the demographics were pretty good. Yeah, you had the good people and the bad people listening. There were references to rewards, but it was never, as far as I know, it was never explicitly said that there were rewards out there. But if you dealt with local law enforcement, they might have rewards. That's to answer the question that Raphael asked. And that's a great question, Raphael. Let me tell you about Phillips H. Lords. Phillips H. Lords created this show, and then he went on to create a bunch of shows as well. So if you've ever heard of the show Counter Spy, if you've ever heard of the show Treasury Agent, and if you've ever heard of the show, and it was huge, Mr. District Attorney, these were all Phillips H. Lords shows. Now, Phillips H. Lords did not start in crime dramas. I mean, he really, really created the template that we know is crime dramas, but that's not what he originally was there to do. I'm gonna go over to the Internet Archive, archive.org. Basically, Joe Henn Memorial Collection has Gangbusters in it, and whoever wrote this wrote a really fantastic set of paragraphs describing what was going on. I want to read this to you. The highlight for many listeners was the plea for assistance at the end, the Gangbusters clues. They would also have real life law officers as the hosts. Now, Don Gardner was an announcer, and he replaced Phillips H. Lord, who was the first announcer. But he would always interview someone. And sometimes the lawman who was telling the story by proxy, I'll explain that soon, was Colonel H. Norman Schwarzkopf. Now, those of us who were around in the early 90s know that General Schwarzkopf was the general of Operation Desert Shield, which became Desert Storm. And Schwarzkopf was and is an American hero. So was his father. He served in World War I. Then he came home. He helped create the state police of New Jersey. That was Colonel Schwarzkopf. And then World War II came along. He went back in and he fought in that war as well. So the Schwarzkopfs are intimately connected to Gangbusters. Very cool. I am a big fan of that. Now, when we say by proxy, what we mean is he lent his name to the show, but an actor played him who did not get any credit because, come on, got to give Mr. Schwarzkopf, I'm sorry, Colonel Schwarzkopf, some love and respect there. Where did Phillips H. Lords come from? As I said, he was he was a New England boy like me. He grew up in Maine and was educated there. He graduated from Bowdoin College in Lewiston, Maine, or if you want to give it the proper pronunciation, Lewiston, because a lot of French Canadian folks, it's a Maine thing. Anyway, I lived quite a few years of my life in Maine. It's a beautiful state. Phillips H. Lord was out of work as a very young man. He graduated from college and then he moved to Connecticut and he became the youngest grade school principal in the history of the country. And then he got bored and then he moved to New York and he didn't have anything going on. He was listening to the radio one day and was so offended by the character on the radio who was from Maine, speaking with a Mainer accent. Pepperidge Farms remembers that accent. He was so offended and knew this guy doing the accent was not even trying. So he went down to the radio station and spoke to the manager. He basically got the manager to give him a meeting and said, what are you guys doing here? What you're claiming to do, you're not doing very well at all. And the manager, to his credit, did not lose his temper and did not throw this kid out. He said, well, I'm always looking for people who can do it better. So give me something. So this is what Phillips H. Lord did. he created a character called Seth Parker. Now, there are no recordings of this, so I'm going to have to assume that it sounded like Seth Parker, because nobody in New England says Parker. That's coming from a New England kid, by the way. Seth Parker was basically a masculine Ma Perkins. Ma Perkins was a wise woman in a soap opera who would listen to people's problems and just chuckle and just give them some good old-fashioned homespun wisdom. Well, that's what Seth Parker was doing, except Seth Parker was, like Phillips H. Lord's father and grandfather, he was a preacher in a very small town. And so the show would usually take the form of dramatizations that turned into a sort of sermon. And what would also happen during the show is very smart from Phillips H. Lord. He didn't want to pay for music, so he used hymns, which are in the public domain. It was so successful that Seth Parker actually had a line of hymnals. He was selling hymnals to people. Anyway, we're not going to talk about modern politics, but there is a parallel to be drawn. Was he close to Seth Parker in his personality? Maybe, but Phillips was very young. He really embraced this success that he was having as Seth Parker. And he actually pitched to the Frigidaire company that the Seth Parker show turn into a travel show. And what he did was he went and bought a yacht because the show was hugely successful. He was making money hand over fist. He went and he bought a yacht, a gigantic 180-foot schooner. He renamed it the Seth Parker. The idea was through shortwave broadcasting and recording and using underwater photographic gear, all paid for by Frigidaire, the sponsor. He was going to send back shows and movies that could be used for newsreels. And, this was going to be a great adventure. It really sounds great, right? What he didn't mention was it was also going to be one nonstop boozing party. He was young after all. And so what Lord, the guy who invented this good old-fashioned preacher character, what he ended up doing was partying all the way down to Australia. And by the time they got down there, he reported to the Australian Coast Guard that the ship was sinking. It was taking on water. The officials did come out and save everybody, but Phillips H. Lord said, no, I'm staying with my ship and I'm going to bring it into, the harbor myself. I assume it's Sydney, but I'm just guessing, which he did. And there was a ton of publicity and everyone was rolling their eyes because they knew that this was just publicity. And Phillips H. Lord was not above, faking the whole thing. Well, the ship was in terrible shape. He had to abandon it in Australia. And by the time he got back to New York, Seth Parker was a name that brought a sneer to everyone's lips. This guy who had been this, beacon of Christian kindness and wisdom was really just a party boy, and everyone was disgusted with him. That's when he went and saw the movie G-Men. That's when he got the idea to start doing crime shows. And frankly, having a bad reputation and producing crime shows, not a bad thing. People still liked him. So he became an incredible producer. He was also, through Seth Parker, he was also the first independent producer in radio. And that's a big thing too, because he kept selling shows. So Phillips H. Lord, fascinating guy, absolutely fascinating. One of the things people would always say about him was he had about 50% of the talent he needed to have. He had 150% of the confidence he needed to have. And that still works in Hollywood. I'll tell you right now. Not for me, but for plenty of really confident, not terribly talented people. That's still going on. As Chris likes to say, there is no bad publicity. Chris also says he sounds like modern preachers. I am not gonna argue with you on that. Oh my goodness. So the show's done. I'm done. I have to learn to quit when I'm ahead. Got to walk away from the table. I do want to tell you, hey Sean, thanks for joining us. I do want to tell you that things are really exciting in the world of all of our shows here at the Weber Internet Thingy. Joe Townsend and I are very excited to bring you a lot of new things coming up. I will say next week's show, you're going to love this show. You're going to love this one. I was checking it out. I didn't know it really well until I started researching it. But I knew that some of the fans in chat had mentioned it early on. It's a show called Box 13. It stars Alan Ladd. Alan Ladd actually was the producer as well. Big movie star. You may remember him as Shane. He was the title character in Shane, Alan Ladd. And he was a really smart guy and knew that he should have his own property, and he could put it on radio and he could turn it maybe into TV, maybe into movies. And that was Box 13. It's a story about a newspaper man who retires to become a fiction writer, but he creates this address that people can send their requests to him to come help them. All he asks in exchange is that he has the rights to the story. Kind of like Rocky Fortune when we were listening to that. So I hope you'll be with me next week for Box 13. We're going to listen to a great episode called Find Me, Find Death. Basically, someone writes to him and just about everything bad that could happen if you put out an ad that says, I'll take any adventure you give me. Any bad thing that could happen happens in this series. And so this guy says, I'm going to get you. I'm going to unalive you in 4 days, unless you can stop me. It's going to be a great episode. I hope you'll be with us. There is a great question here from Raphael this weekend. Yes, this weekend we have coming up. I didn't put it in order. Here we go. On Retro Trekkers, Joe and I are so pleased to bring to you an episode that maybe not a lot of people have watched. So this would be a great opportunity for you to go out there and find it and see it. It's from season 4 of Star Trek Enterprise, and it's the episode called Bound. And we meet the Orions. We learn more about the Orions than we've ever learned before, which is really cool because if you think about it, the dancing green slave girl in the pilot episode, we saw it as Menagerie, right? In the pilot episode, that character is an Orion. So it comes full circle, and we get to learn more about that character, somebody who was introduced in 1966, for heaven's sake. So that'll be really cool. I hope you'll join me and Joe. That'll be Saturday at 5 p.m. and 8 p.m. on the East Coast. And there is also another piece of news that will be our last Saturday episode for, as far as I know, that's our last Saturday episode because Retro Trekkers is going to move to Tuesday night. It's going to have more of a showtime like this show has. So it'll be Tuesday night at 7 p.m. on the Pacific Coast, 10 p.m. on the East Coast. And then on Thursday, there's Box 13. Hey, coming up this Sunday, you are going to have so much fun with us. We're going to have our buddy El Tiburon on. El Tiburon is, he's much younger than Joe and I, and we always like to show him old stuff. it's not that he doesn't enjoy it. He enjoys it a lot. It's just not the sort of thing he goes and looks for. So on Retro Rangers, he's going to be sitting with us. You're going to be hopefully sitting with us as well. And we're going to do a watch party of the great film, The Last Man on Earth. Now, as Joe points out in his jokes in this poster, you could know this story as I Am Legend, starring Will Smith. You could know it as Omega Man, one of my favorite movies when I was a kid. CBS late night movie. Oh boy, I loved watching Omega Man. That's another version of this story. The very first time I Am Legend by author Richard Matheson, if I'm getting that correct. Please tell me if I'm not. Originally, the first movie made was starring Vincent Price. It was Last Man on Earth. That's the movie we're going to be watching. And Diana J. Brody is absolutely right. We'll be showing it at Retro Rangers HQ. That is our YouTube channel just for Retro Rangers, because we get in trouble with the copyrights sometimes, and we got to have our own place for Retro Rangers. So as much as I love you joining us on Weber Internet Thingy, which is this channel, we also really want you to join Retro Rangers HQ. Like and subscribe if you could. We would love that so much. Richard Matheson is the guy. You are correct, sir, says Joe Townsell. So I'm thrilled to hear about that. What else is there? I think that might be it. I do want to see this from Chris. I was a field manager for U-Haul in 1971 to 1981. I had to recover trucks from worse places than space. Oh my God. I never even thought of that. Oh boy, that must have been a rough job. Woo. I've had some stinker jobs myself. My heart goes out to you on that one, Chris. I think that's it. Gotta learn when to walk away, John. I love doing this show. It really is one of my favorite things. And hey, be around for Saturday, would you? 5 p.m. for Retro Trekker. Love to see you then. And hey, thank you for watching. Say goodbye. Oh, here's one of your stories. Good night.
It's so snowy outside, but my apartment's so warm.
I admire your etching.
I admire your form.
Oh, you're just so insistent.
I've been waiting so long.
And I've been getting ideas from JoeTownsell.com.
Horror for the holidays, how about that? You're like the canary and I am the cat. We've got a roaring fire and a bearskin rug, and I'm expecting so much more than a kiss and a hug.
The girls at the office all talk about you. You gotta be stopped, and that's just what I'll do.
I feel sick and dizzy.
And why is that, you think?
When I wasn't looking, you switched our drinks.
Horror for the holidays, JoeTownsell.com.
I can't feel my legs and I can't move my arms. Please don't let me die, I'll mend my ways.
Enjoy your last horror for the holidays.
JoeTownsell.com.